On this, we can speak now with Ricardo Baretzky from the European Center for Information Policy and Security. Thank you for joining us here on the program. Firstly, François Hollande has not announced he's running again for president, but this sounded very much like a campaign speech. What did you make of it?
Absolutely. I've been listening part of it, and I think it is correct to say that it sounds more like a campaign political speech. However, there's a few alarming points in his speech that I think is rather very important to pay attention to that could spark potential security risk. And, a question is how is he going to implement all of this? And the second point is who is going to follow?
Well, then you mentioned some issues during that speech. What are those points that could raise security risks?
Well, one of the things that struck me is when one speaks bluntly about people that drop out, in particular, right? When we have a political speech of this nature, it can provoke particularly the people in security forces. And that's a very dangerous thing in our opinion. We've seen this kind of thing before, so it's not new. But we haven't seen this yet in Europe. And the danger, yes, is that European politicians is going to walk straight into the trap.
In terms of playing along with that rhetoric that's mentioned, or?
Well, the thing is that we have to realize that socialism, democracy, and security doesn't mix very easily. These are three subjects that is separate from each other. And we have to be very careful to bring an academic view of the security at hand. The reality is that the people needs to be on the ground. The security forces has to be across Europe. One of the other points that he touched on, and specifically that's alarming, is that confining the space to single law within the French Union. We have to realize that terrorism is a global problem. It is not an issue just to France. And the French law is one of the factors that has to be incorporated and expanded with the traditional law across Europe.
So then when he said in his speech that the state of emergency, parts of the state of emergency, he wanted them enshrined in the Constitution, and that he defended his actions, saying that we, the government, have not gone too far. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely not. I think that the government has got it all wrong. They have two sides of the stick. What is important, they have to realize that another form of suppression will not work. The public has to feel at ease. The number one concern is keeping the public safe. And I don't hear that. I hear a lot of talk, but I don't see the actions taken for that. And the real problem here is that should the security forces fail in future, that this could have a devastating effect on the entire European Union, and not only in the European Union, but all its allies. And they don't get it. They don't seem to understand the importance of the words, the contents, and how to put it into practice in the security world.
So then do you believe that he perhaps was making a very similar speech to what we've heard from other populist and nationalist leaders in some respects?
I think you have it very correct there, and your analysis is absolutely right. And that is in itself a form of danger. You cannot separate the community and speak about a specific part of the community. No matter which leader or which country you're from, it poses a threat to the national security and a threat to the people itself. And this is the part they have to get to understand. They have to unify the people in the correct context. But if they constantly mix the concept of the security, particularly that of counterterrorism, mix it into the concept of democratic views, which...
All right, we appear to have lost our connection there with Ricardo Baretzky, who was joining us from the European Center for Information Policy and Security. Let's stay here in France, and there have been more arrests in relation to a suspected plot to attack